Yo, we are here. We are here. What's up? What's up? What's up? Shout out to everybody. Shout out to everybody in the building. What's going on? We got Mr. Justin in the building. What's going on, Justin? What's popping with you, man?
Doing fantastic, man. It's turned out to be a nice day here in New York, so getting a lot of shit done and getting fresh air. You know, and it's good we finally figured out a time to come together and do a little like specified show.
Yeah, nah, that's facts. That's facts. And shout out to everybody in the chat, man. Shout out to everybody in the building. You feel what I'm saying? I fucking sound effects is acting crazy. Hold on, gotta do my sound effects and shit. Make sure my shit is tight. But shout out to everybody in the chat, man. So today's topic, and the phone lines are up. So 646-481-3901, 646-481-3901. The phone lines are up. So if you guys want to call in, you can call in. You know what I'm saying? Make sure you make that shit happen. And today's topic, and if you have a question, put a Q in the chat. You know the drill. And today's topic is how to set and maintain relationship rules with women. All right. So Justin, what's your thoughts on that real quick? We'll start out with you.
Well, yeah, I get into this conversation with pretty much every guy that I work with, and it seems that there's anything that's worthwhile doing. We often have plans, we have structures, we have systems by which we operate things, and this could be the business that you're running, it could be your fitness, it could be your diet, everything that has something to do with progress. We have a system of monitoring it, checking in on it, and a way to measure from point A to point B to point C and so on.
Right.
Yet when we come to our relationships, guys come in and just operate by the seat of their pants. They're like, hey, I'm attracted to you, you're attracted to me, let's just figure it out.
Right.
And then they end up getting into these passive aggressive situations, and they feel violated. No one's really talking about it, and there's infractions done, but no one's clear about what those infractions are, where the boundaries are, where anything lies. And then you get into a lot of things either being swept under the carpet, or you're having little fights that are nothing to do with what really is going on, like they loaded the dishwasher wrong or some bullshit like that.
Right. Now that's facts, man. You know, it's interesting because I think a lot of guys don't even think about maintaining any type of rules, guidelines in a relationship, because I think most guys expect women to come ready-made. So meaning that I hear this a lot where I remember I was here on Clubhouse one time, a guy was like, why do I have to teach a woman, how to be in a relationship with me or how to treat me and do this and that? Shouldn't her parents have taught her that? Shouldn't her dad have taught her that? So a lot of guys, what they do is that because they don't have any plans, or they don't actually have any type of way that they go about their life, they just sort of allow a woman to enter their life, but there's no plan. So then because there's no plan, anything can happen. And because anything can happen, that means something could happen that you may not like. And then when the things happen that you don't like, right, then you want to complain and blame the woman. But the thing is, you got to understand that those things that you don't like occurred because you weren't sure about what you did like. And this is why it's very important to understand who you are as a man, because when you understand that, then it's easier to navigate and implement what you actually want in these situations. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Well, I do agree that it is certainly helpful to have a good upbringing where you have a strong man leading the home, where the daughter can learn proper forms of behavior, at least as a baseline. But let's be real, like that's not super common, right? I mean, we see, you and I are both very much aware of the number of failed relationships and screwed up marriages that are going on out there. And it's no surprise that even if a girl has a father, it doesn't necessarily mean that she's learning proper things.
Right.
So I do agree with the guy who said that, because it's kind of like someone going into join a company, right? It's helpful if they went to school for business, right? Or business administration, but that's not going to teach them how to operate in that specific business.
Exactly.
It's just going to give them a nice baseline. So yeah, if a woman has that prepared, cool. But honestly, if you have your system developed, if you've got a good program, if you have a nice set of rules that can then be either added or adjusted based on how the situation progresses, then it's going to be no problem for you either way. Right. So if she comes in with a baseline, great. If she doesn't, that's okay too. Either way, there's going to be a learning curve.
Right. Because the thing is that what guys got to understand is that you're an individual. Every guy is an individual. You have your own way of how you want things to occur. And so if you're saying to a woman, hey, let's get together and I'm going to allow this situation to progress into a longer term relationship, there should be some sort of protocol, some sort of thing that to tell her to say, hey, listen, if you want to be in this situation, then we have to have this conversation, or we have to have this vetting process. We have to have something that's going to establish a way things are going to go down. Because this is the part that a lot of you guys don't get. Do you guys realize that whenever you allow a woman to enter your life and something that you would consider negative or something you don't prefer happens, right? A lot of times what it does is that on your psyche, it causes you to sort of internalize these things, and you start to become a little bit more cautious and fearful. It's almost like sort of like a trauma type of thing. You're like, man, well, the last girl I was with, she did this, this, and this, so I don't like that. And then what happens is that now you're cautious and you're trying to avoid that other thing from happening. But the problem is that because you don't realize that you were the problem, meaning you were the one that created a situation for this to occur, you're going to look at it as it's the woman's problem. So this is why a lot of times with the red pill, this is where they get it confused. They say, well, these women are doing this, these women are doing that, these women are doing that. And yes, those women did that, but they only were able to do that under the circumstances that you had them in. You see what I'm saying? So which means that if you don't understand that they're doing those things because you made the situation happen, then you're going to make the same mistakes, or you're going to feel some type of way based on the woman being a problem and not you being the one creating the situation. So for example, real quick, is like, let's say, you have a situation where, a perfect example, and shout out to my dude Fresh, but let's use him as an example. Where in this situation with the whole girl that he supposedly got pregnant, right? In this situation, the reason why they can even have the conversation of pregnancy is because he was having sex raw, right? So if you're having sex raw, this is what's going to be the outcome of it. So then what happens is you can't necessarily be mad about having the conversation of pregnancy, because pregnancy only happened because you went raw. You see what I'm saying? So you have to stop going raw, protect your seed, and then you will never have this conversation, or you won't be having these type of conversations. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. It's just having that, the foresight. But you mentioned something about fear, and a lot of times a guy will have something that in him or he recognizes that should be a rule. Okay. And this is how I teach guys in order to start with an understanding about rules in the relationship, even just as their own individual, not even just in the dynamic of a relationship, but is look for things that get under your skin. Okay. So if like your friend comes over, they come over and they kick their feet up on the coffee table, and you're just like, oh, like that, like you feel something like get under your skin, but you don't say anything. I teach my guys to become aware of those irksome situations and to make note of it, to think, maybe there's a rule there. Okay. And then after that, after it's established, then you say, all right, hey, don't put your feet up on the coffee table when you come to my home. Right. In fact, take your dirty shoes off at the door. Right. And so this is kind of what I teach guys in order to learn how to recognize where the rules are in your life. And then you can start really making it more strategic, and when you're thinking about it objectively and more strategically. But the thing is about the fear is that guys will be afraid to implement this stuff because they're afraid of losing what they have.
Exactly.
Okay? So you can't have rules and fear at the same time. Okay?
Facts.
So
that's a fact.
So if like you look at a state, okay, every state has like different laws regarding certain things, this, that, and the other. If a citizen is like, I don't like that law, I'm going to leave, the state's going to be like, all right, cool. Like, I hope you find better opportunities in Oklahoma, right? Here in New York, we don't do that. So it's kind of like that. Like, you have to be okay with maintaining your rules. All right. And so the issue is when someone's already in a relationship and then they realize that they have to have rules. They're like, oh shit, maybe I should have some rules and more structure.
Right.
The question is then, how do they start implementing this in their pre-existing relationships? Because it's easy at the onset. If at the onset you're like, boom, this is what it is, and that's how I started my relationship. I basically gave her a terms of agreement of like, this is what to expect. It was like this brief paragraph. I sent it to her, and I was like, look, this is what it is. If you don't want to be with it, that's fine. But if you do, this is what I expect.
Right.
And then I slowly started implementing the rules that I already knew into the relationship and adding more according to her personality type, because there was compatibility. So when there's compatibility, adding rules isn't all that difficult. Right? They're going to be more or less synergistic. Some rules will have to be adjusted to on her part if it's something that's like slightly outside of her comfort zone. And that's okay. As long as you have a good reason for it. And that's another thing. Like a lot of guys, when they have rules, like what's that one that we've heard many times before about going out? I've heard like so many big names talk about like this. You're never going out by yourself. Right. You're never having a girls' night out. You're never going to a club with your friends. You're never doing this. You're never doing that. When the street lights come on, I expect you to be home. Like that sort of stuff.
Right.
And it's like, okay, so, and then they back it up with plausible deniability. I'm afraid that you'll get attacked or something like that.
Right.
And it's like, come on, you're really afraid that she's going to touch another man's penis. That's really what you're afraid of.
Exactly.
Right? That's what you're really afraid of. And you're playing it off like you're being this big protector guy, but really you're just scared that she's going to go hook up with somebody else. And that's the kind of bullshit that I don't like, which the honesty with the self is really what's required in order to have a true system of rules. Because if there's fear in there, there's anxiety in there, if there's attachments in there, it's going to be motivated by the wrong juice.
Right.
And that's going to completely color all of the rules. Because then if she breaks one, what's going to happen? You're going to get emotional. You're going to start flipping out, right? In an ideal system, the law maintainer does not get emotional about these things. Just say, hey, you broke the rules, you broke the law. There's a consequence for that. And that's it. It's not, I'm upset, you're making me cry, I'm angry, this, that, and the other. It's like whenever, in my situation, if a rule is broken, it's never dealt with from an emotional place. I'm never angry.
Exactly.
It's just like, no, this is what it is. And now you're getting bent over my knee.
Right.
That's just what it is.
That's a fact. And guys, put your questions in the chat. Call in. The call number 646-481-3901, 646-481-3901. Make sure you guys donate, call up. But what you said was so true about you can't have fear within the rules. You know what I'm saying? And I think a lot of guys try to mask their fear as rules and guidelines. You feel what I'm saying? Or rules and boundaries. But it's really fear. So like you said, they're like, oh, well, I don't want you to go out by yourself because, you might get attacked. But before you met her, I'm sure she was going out by herself, you know what I'm saying? And living her life and doing her thing. But what happens is that what they try to do is they try to cloud it in, oh, well, I'm saying this because I care and I care for your safety. But it's not really about that. It's not really about that. It's about the guy is scared. He's scared, like you said, of another guy getting at her, trying to holler at her being interested in another man. So he creates these quote unquote rules to try to keep the woman away from other men. But see, the thing is that you can't even do that. This is what guys got to understand. See, the rules are not about keeping a woman. The rules are about when you're in a relationship, for the relationship to function in a way that's beneficial for you and the woman. That's what the rules are about, to keep things in a certain place so that things can operate effectively. You know what I'm saying? That's what it's about.
Yeah, I've got rules for that, as far like rules that pertain to the sanctity of the relationship, that keep things in a general structure. And then I've got more specified rules. So I've got rules for distance, right? So if like she's traveling or I'm traveling or we're apart, she's at work or whatever, there's certain rules in that space. There's rules for when we're at home, right? And there's that that interaction, and there's nobody else there but just us.
Mm.
There's public rules, so we're going out to the movies, we're going out to dinner, whatever. There's rules in that space, and then I also have sexual rules during times of intimacy. So there's general rules for the relationship, and then there's rules that are very specific to our interaction.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I think a lot of guys don't understand how important that is, because most of the time when you hear guys have relationship problems, it's really from a lack of rules and guidelines. That's basically what it is. And so Zay said, Uncle Justin Locario, do you give women second chances if they break the rules? So Justin, what's your thoughts of that?
It depends on the infraction. So I've got, I guess what you would say, like, green, yellow, red. I do have some yellow category rules where it's known that she can play with that line. And she can, because, it's a little bit different because she and I, we have like a DS dynamic, and she's a little bit bratty, she's a little like 15% bratty. She likes to play, and it kind of keeps things lively. And she's like, Daddy, my toes over the line. What are you going to do about it? And that sort of thing. And so there are a set of rules where she knows that if she wants to, she can kind of mess with that a little bit.
Right.
There are red rules, right, that have to do with certain forms of disrespect. And that's when I use the axe, and then there is no second chances, right? So I've talked to my guys about having the axe, the compass, and the hatchet, right? The hatchet is just for cutting off unwanted behavior, checking a woman's voice, checking her behavior. The compass is for redirecting that sort of stuff. So it's not good enough to say, I don't like it when you say this.
Right.
You have to say, I don't like it when you say this. What I expect to hear is boom, 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 verbatim. Okay. And then the axe is used only in those dire situations when it's high levels of disrespect, and you say, this is done. Right. And if it's done, you pull out the axe. That's the end of it. Like there's been a beheading. There's no coming back to life after a beheading. Okay. And that's the way I deal with these things. So there is like a range in there, and then if those certain things, there's going to be some sort of severe punishment involved, and she knows what those are.
Yeah, I look at it like this. Like you said, like there's certain different rules for different situations, right? Yeah. Or and it also depends on sometimes in the context. So let's say, for example, if I'm in a relationship, like I actually have a woman in my life, and that's like my girl and everything, right? That might be different. There are going to be different rules for that than, let's say, someone that's like, a fuck buddy. And that's like probably a minimal rules for a fuck buddy, because it's like, hey, this is what we do. You come through, we make this happen. And if you come through and you don't make this happen, then I'm not really dealing with you in that level. But what happens is sometimes what happens is this, is that when you're in a situation with a woman, you have to also look at things in context, right? So one of the things about it is this too, is that you can't necessarily, and I'm gonna use the context of a long-term relationship, you can't necessarily sort of penalize or just sort of like get at a woman for quote unquote breaking a rule that you never said. Do you understand what I'm saying? Right. So a lot of times what happens is that guys will, something will happen, and the guy will be like, yo, that's messed up. How could you do this? Blah, 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 blah. Right now, like you said, Justin, there's certain things that generally speaking, you would already know, okay, this is extremely disrespectful. So for example, let's just say your girl's mad at you and she balls up her fist and tries to punch you in the face. That right there, we're done. You know what I'm saying? That's where you're at, right? You know what I mean? Right. As far as generally speaking, in her being angry, trying to punch you in the face, right? But let's say, for example, let's say you texted her something and then she didn't, I'm just using this spitball in here. You texted her something and she didn't text you back, or she texted you back some other thing or whatever, right? And you just didn't like the response or how she came at you or why she took so long or whatever, or ignored the text or whatever it is like that, right? What happens is that, depending on the context of what's going on, and depending on the fact that you never specified that she should respond when you ask her this or ask her this type of question. If she doesn't respond, you basically can't feel some type of way because nothing was set. So basically what I'm saying is this: you have to understand the rules that are set and relay that to the woman. right? There are sometimes things will come up that you may not necessarily even thought of. And then you have to go back and say, hey, listen, this happened and we got to talk about this. And now we might have to actually make a rule on this thing. You see what I'm saying? So, and the reason,
you can't see everything for all duration of time.
right, exactly, because something random happened. So you can't necessarily be like, man, you did this, I don't like you, this, and I'm all upset about it or whatever. So this is why you have to understand context. So a lot of times when you guys ask questions too, you have to also understand that context matters too. So I think sometimes when we teach you guys, sometimes y'all get confused because y'all think what we say pertains to every and all situations. You see what I'm saying? And you have to be able to discern whether or not it pertains to this particular situation or not, or does it need to be fine-tuned for that particular situation. And so that comes with experience. You see what I'm saying? I'll give you a simple example. So let's say, for example, we say, and this is why you have to understand the underlying reason as why we say what we say. So we might say, listen, don't go to bars and just be buying random women drinks, right? Now, the reason why we say that is because if you're just buying random women drinks, you're probably doing that because you want to talk to them, and you're doing that because you're scared to just have a conversation, and you think you need to supplicate and pay for a conversation with a woman by buying her drink. So that's why we're telling you, don't be going to just buy women drinks. Now, let's say you're at a bar, you're having a conversation with a random woman, y'all are interacting, y'all are flirting, everything is good. Y'all been talking for maybe like half an hour, 20 minutes. And you say, you know what? I'm thirsty. Let me go get a drink. Do you want a drink too? Now you're buying her a drink, but you're not buying her a drink to get her to talk to you. You're buying her a drink because y'all are basically having a good time. Y'all are flirting. It's almost like y'all are on a date anyway. So in this context, you feel what I'm saying? That makes sense. But the reason why we were saying don't buy women drinks in the first place is to say, don't try to buy her conversation or win her over with money. So I don't want you guys to be in a situation where you be like, man, well, I was talking to this girl, we was making out, everything was cool, and I wanted to get some drinks, but Locario says never buy a woman a drink that you, and I'm like, see, you missed the whole entire point. You feel what I'm saying? So that's what you gotta understand,
Well, Locario, you brought up something that's pretty important about addressing, like you gave an example about the texting thing. I was thinking of, say, like hanging up the phone. Like I think I've had about 2 phone conversations with my girl. I'm not like, why am I calling? Right. But the only reason why I get on the phone with anyone is to do business, or if it's to like bills or something important, state, government, whatever, something important that requires a phone call. Okay. Having a woman does not require a phone call. Right. I don't get joy out of just chit chatting. Right. Like, for what? I don't know. But anyways, that's just me. I'm not telling you guys that you have to be this way, but
so I understand.
So what I do find is rude behavior is someone who, say, is getting flustered and they just hang up the phone. Right. Without saying goodbye or anything. Like they rage quit the phone call and they just hang up. I can't stand that. It's very childish. So, I was thinking of that scenario, and maybe you never thought of that before, but it got under your skin.
Right.
And the thing about rules when they're broken, whether they're already established or it's something you just discovered, like in that thing where you just took it for granted that you don't like it. It's just never something you really thought about until that moment. You're like, fuck, like I hate that shit. Oh, that must be a rule of mine.
Exactly.
You must address the infraction immediately.
Exactly.
All right.
Fact.
This is how it works, because, so if anyone's done any sort of research into operant conditioning or anything like that, you must address the infraction right away. Okay. Because if you were to come back to it, say a couple days later, while you're stewing and milling about in your emotions, and then you worked up the gumption to go talk to her and you're like, listen, right? Or she's like, why are you being so passive aggressive? You're slamming the cupboards. And when I ask you what's going on, you say nothing. Right. And then finally you say something. Remember that 3 days ago when you hung up the phone on me? Well, that really pissed me off. She's in a completely different reality by then. Right. Her emotions are a different place. Her psychology is in a different place. She's done a bunch of different things. She is no longer in that reality while you still are. Okay. Right. Emotionally speaking. Right. So once something happens, it must be addressed immediately. All right. And if you're not right then and there to deal with it, let's say it's just over the phone or texting or something like that, you make a plan for it. You say, when I see you later, we're going to be dealing with this.
Exactly. Right.
Right. And then once you are dealing with that situation, you have to make it clear this is going to happen because you did X, Y, Z. Right. And then you sit her, I mean, for me, it's like something like sit her down and she's going to write 50 times in cursive without any mistakes. I will never hang up the phone on daddy ever again. 50 times until her hand is aching. Right?
Make sure you guys go to dominancecademy.com. That's a fact.
but let me just state this. This is something that she'd agreed to as an acceptable punishment.
Right.
Right. So, but this is something that I put forward and she's like, okay, I can roll with that. Like it's something she's willing to do because of so many other baseline foundational things of her wanting to be with me, her having respect for me and all that stuff. There's a lot of foundational things that need to happen. So you can't, that's another thing. You can't enact rules on a woman who has no respect for you.
That's a big right there. That's a big one right there.
It's like the police. Like there's criminals. They're like, fuck the police. They could care less what the laws are. You know what I'm saying? The laws only work for people who actually respect the law.
Exactly.
So if there's no respect, the laws might as well not exist. So yeah, don't take what I'm saying. You're like, okay, I'm going to get my girl to start writing lines when she screws up. It's like, well, you better be sure she's got a lot of respect for you first.
That's real talk. So Delaware said, appreciate the wisdom. I know every guy has different rules, but what would be some typical sex rules for living girlfriend circumstance? Example, smash 3 times a week, blowjobs on Fridays.
those aren't rules. Like that. I mean, that's more of like a schedule. And if you want to make a schedule for your sex life, you absolutely can do that. Like, let's say that just works out because of your work, your exercise, your sleep schedule, whatever. And you want to put sex on a schedule that way, by all means do it. Say, hey, we're doing this, 3 times a week. Now, what happens if she's not feeling well? What happens in that situation, right? She had a fucked up lunch, her stomach's all messed up, or she has a period and her cramps are through the roof. What are you going to do? You know what I'm saying? So you have to be somewhat a little bit flexible. I've got certain sex rules, like she has come to understand that orgasms are something to be grateful for. So her orgasms, they are followed with a thank you. Right. So that's one rule. She's to say thank you after every orgasm she has. She's willfully given up control of her orgasms such that she cannot masturbate without permission. She cannot come without permission, whether she's alone or we are together. So if she's about to come, she needs to ask, Daddy, may I come? Right. Nice. And so like that's a sort of thing. But again, when we were mentioning like compatibility, these things have to come from compatibility first. So she enjoys, like she's turned on by the idea of giving up control. Right. So it makes sense. If she didn't get turned on by that, the rule wouldn't really bind with her well. And because, I'm, I guess, an eroticist, I would find out what does turn her on and use that as a means of setting up a rule. Just for the fun of it.
Right. That's a fact. That's some real stuff. And see, the thing is, and I'm glad that you're saying this, because this is why it's important for a man to set and maintain relationship rules, because just like you are an individual, which creates the world that you want to live in and the types of relationships that you want. Whereas that might be different for other people. And this is what people got to understand. This is why we tell you guys about having your own identity. This is why we tell you guys about understanding game. Because when you understand game, you understand who you are and you understand yourself. So therefore, when you understand yourself to that extent, then it's easier for you to make the rules and the guidelines and the principles of what your relationship's going to be. You see what I'm saying? And then what happens is you give women the chance to choose correctly. That's what I always tell guys. You got to give women an opportunity to choose correctly, which means you're relaying and letting the woman know, hey, look, this is what it is. This is where I'm going. This is what I'm doing. And, you can either get with it, or if you don't get with it, that's all good too. And we don't got to be together. You know what I'm saying? But what was I going to say?
Right. Well, I was going to say that rules and guidelines cannot be there just for the sake of having them, right? Because, and this is what you'll find with dudes who are controlling out of fear, right? They want control for the sake of control. So when someone hears me say, "Oh, that's crazy, you've got control for orgasms," what's the point of that? There's massive points of that, because think about it. Things you get for free are not as valued for the things that you work for in anything in life, right? You like, I remember my daughter many years ago when like the first iPad came out, she really wanted an iPad. I'm like, okay, you're gonna have to work for it.
Right.
And she was like 6 years old. And so I made a list of chores, and for every chore that she did, there was a certain dollar amount, and she kept track of it in her little like unicorn notebook and tracked all of the money that she had made. And then it took her like 3 months to save up to buy her own, but she got that iPad and fucking loved the hell out of it. Okay. So in the same way, when just in terms of orgasms, when they're earned, it comes across as something way more impactful. Okay. And then on top of that, you're now setting up a series of layers of triggering mechanisms, deeper emotional things, because now you are linked to the source of her feeling that kind of pleasure. And so now there's that link. Okay. And so for all the guys who are saying women can't pair bond, they absolutely can. Right? Because when you become that anchor for her source of physical and emotional pleasure, now it becomes incredibly powerful system. And this leads to all sorts of types of growth. So it's not the control for the sake of control. In my heart of hearts, I could care less. You know, they're her orgasms, like whatever, it's just an orgasm. But it's like, what can be gained and grown from that for her psychologically, like as she develops and becomes, deeper into herself. This is the point of rules. It's the point of like maintenance and growth. So you can't have rules just for the sake of controlling something. Like, that's stupid. It's like a closed-end question, right? You have to have an idea of why you have the rule in the first place. Right? And it can't be something of your emotion to protect things, blah, 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 bullshit. Like, where's the growth mindset when setting up rules? That's the whole point.
Right. And that's why earlier we talk about the rules can be clouded in fear, because if the reason for the rule is fear, then it's not really a rule. It's something that you're putting in place because of insecurity. You know what I'm saying? It's something you're putting in place because you're scared of, what the alternative is. So you're trying to control the outcome of certain things. And so this is why a lot of times when guys in the red pill and all this other stuff say, hey, I don't want to have, she can't have a social media. She can't go on girls trips. You can't go here and you can't do that. And it's like, what is the reason behind that? And usually the reason behind that is I'm trying to make sure other men don't get access to my woman. You know what I'm saying? That's basically what it is, out of fear of her wanting the other men and leaving me. You see what I'm saying? So that's not a rule. You know what I'm saying? That's not rules or guidelines. So the problem with that is, and what a lot of guys don't understand is, when you do that, ironically, that's what actually makes you lose the woman, because she's like, okay, this guy's insecure. I don't have no respect for this dude. I don't really see him as a leader and all this other stuff. And so she's going to leave you anyway. You know what I'm saying? But what's funny is, Stewin said, if it's why I stay single, all these rules, guidelines, work, etc. are exhausting. He's like,
Hey, and that's true. I say this, Steve has said this, it's not cut out for everybody.
Right.
And what you were saying before, like if you're just having like a short-term intimate connection with a woman, you really don't have to have, you just have baseline boundaries, basically. You don't have to have rules, because it's not necessary. And the way I see it, maybe it's just because I'm a creative individual, I just see it as another means of creative expression. Right. Like I draw, I paint, I make music, I sculpt. There's, my whole life has been full of creativity. So for me, this is just another form of creative expression. So I don't see it as daunting or anything like that. However, to the guy's point, if you're going to set up rules and systems, you have to abide by them and you have to maintain them. Right. You have to maintain them. Like, so they have to be on your mind. You have to be aware of this stuff on a regular basis. And yeah, if it's something that causes you strain, if you think that this is gonna give you anxiety or whatever, then by all means don't have them. And then, that's just the way it is for you. This is not prescriptive. This is for people who say, I want a structured relationship that is based on growth. In order to have growth, you have to have a system in anything that you do, including your relationships. And that's just the way it goes.
Yeah, that's facts. Because it's just like, what people don't understand. He said the word rules makes me sick. And this is the thing. What people don't understand is this. And what you're saying is right, Justin. Like, you don't necessarily have to do this, but understand that there's always going to be a balance. So let's look at it in the context of working out and getting fit. Like there are rules to this. Like you have to eat a certain amount of calories to lose a certain percentage of body fat, right? You have to go in the gym or at least work out this amount of times for this extended period of time to get the certain type of body. So the thing is, if you say, I want this type of body, then I have to follow these rules in order to get this type of body. I don't need, and this is the thing, you don't need to follow any of those rules. But guess what? If you don't follow any of those rules, you are not going to get that type of body. So it just all depends on what you want. So you can't get this type of body and follow no rules. That's not how it works. And that's how people look at relationships. They want a certain type of relationship without having any rules. They're like, well, I want, things to go this way and that way, but they have no rules. But if you want things to go a certain way, you have to have the rules. So it's always that balance. And that's what I actually love about life is that the game is, you got to give in order to get. So if you want a specific outcome or a specific thing, you have to give a specific thing. You have to put in a specific thing to get out a specific thing. So the thing is this, is that, because if you're saying, that, oh man, all these things are exhausting, which is fine, right? But what you got to understand is that if you want a specific or desired outcome or a specific way things are going to go, right? And you want to live a certain type of lifestyle and you want to have a certain type of experience, there are things that go along with that. And there's no way around it. So you can't, it's almost like, what's that saying? You can't have your cake and eat it too. It's kind of like, you can't have this type of relationship without the rules. It's damn near impossible. You feel what I'm saying? And so that's what I tell guys. So it's like, listen, it's almost like guys are like, man, I want to get with women and I want really hot women to get with, but they don't want to approach women. They don't want to go on dating apps. They don't want to go on dates. They don't feel like, putting in the work. So I'm like, okay, well, you don't have to do any of putting in the work, but guess what? The result is you're not going to get no women. You feel what I'm saying? So you gotta choose what you want to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I saw this one guy in the chat, Charisma Strategies, and he's saying that it's not really rules. It's just you being yourself and allowing a woman to be part of your lifestyle. Yes, that is true on a wider scope. Okay. But there's going to be situations, there's going to be things in there where situations will come up where you have to inform the person of something specific. They're not always going to be observant and watching every little thing you do, especially if it's something in your head. So you're going to have to, at the very least, let them know where certain lines are, right? Because things are not, you could have fantastic compatibility. It's never going to be 100%. Never. Right. Because they're an individual of their own. Right. And so they cannot live within your consciousness all the time with that great of awareness. They're not psychic. So you do have to inform the person if it's not something you actually want to uphold. But I think that part of a lifestyle is also having a vision, and that vision has a certain look to it. And that look involves certain behaviors. And right. If they're already doing some of those behaviors, great. If they're not, you're going to have to teach them. That is correct. So for example, like part of my vision, it's like when we go out, there's certain, like we go out to dinner, right? There's certain protocols that we observe when we're going out, right? So the first one is she doesn't sit before I sit. She doesn't eat before I eat. And my water glass is to always be full if it's the type of place where they leave a pitcher or a carafe or something like that. Otherwise, the waiter's doing it. So there's certain things, because that's part of a vision that I really like. Okay. And so that was just part of my personal vision, and this is how I enact it. She has no way to know just by observing me that our lifestyles can be compatible. I have to tell her about that specific thing, and she's like, okay. And she agreed to it, and this is how we operate when we go to restaurants.
Yeah, so he said, I totally agree. He's like, I just mean in response to the other person saying it feels exhausting. I think there's a disconnect there. It shouldn't feel exhausting, right? Well,
no.
Yeah, it shouldn't necessarily feel exhausting. It should, but the thing is that it still is a form of work, because consistency needs to be in the situation. So the thing is that, like, and this is why you're looking for compatibility and cooperation within your relationship, because that is the thing that makes it not exhausting, is the willingness for the woman to cooperate with what you are bringing to the situation. So you don't want it to be ever where it's like, oh, we're fighting and I have to force you to do this, and I got to beg you to do this, and we got to go back. No, it's like, hey, this is what it is. And this is why I say have her choose correctly. When you get a woman to choose correctly, what you're basically doing is you say, hey, this is everything on the table of what needs to go down. And I'm letting you know this before we enter into this situation. Right. And so now she agrees, and it's like, okay, cool. Now we're going in this situation. Now what happens is that if we're in a situation where, other things come up, then we can address that and we can keep it going and move on. You feel what I'm saying? But you also got to understand that when it comes to, when it comes to setting rules and all these different things, right? Like you were saying, Justin, that the woman is an individual. So you're going to have to teach certain things, because in order for her to get the experience of being with that man, there's certain things that need to be done in order for her to get the experience. So just like I was saying earlier, you don't have to follow rules, but by not following rules, this is going to be a certain outcome. If you follow the rules, you'll get this other outcome. So even for a woman, if a woman says, you know what, I like Justin. Justin's a great guy. I want to be around him. I want to be in a relationship with him. Then it's like, okay, cool. Well, this is what it is to be in a relationship with me. So now she's going to have to give that cooperation to get Justin. You see what I'm saying? It's the same thing with any other man. A woman has to give this thing in order to get you, just like you have to give some time and energy to approach a woman, talk to her, interact with her, and set things up for that situation to go down. So it's always a give to get dynamic. You feel what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what it is. And it's absolutely just like obedience training a puppy is hilarious.
Well, actually, I know a female dom. Her name is Miss LX, ELLE, and then the letter X. She's on YouTube. She's really, really good. Like, she knows her shit like crazy, and she's also a dog trainer. And she has learned that a lot of the things that you do, when teaching someone, or you say training, teaching, whatever you want, someone to do a certain thing, there's ways to enforce it, and the techniques. And she talks about this thing, and she's like, yeah, I got these techniques from a dog training book. Right. And that's not to slight women or even, men who are on the other side of that or whatever. It's just to say that we're biological organisms. We react to operant conditioning just like animals do. Right. So Pavlov's dog situation works with humans as well as it does with dogs. Right. It's just the way it is, like somehow when I don't know how it forms, but whenever my woman is seeing or in close to or doing the cutting of lemons, it makes her mouth water. I don't know why. I don't know how this started, but it does. Right. And so it's a fun thing that I discovered. So now I can use this to torture her a little bit and make her drool on command.
Just be cutting lemons randomly.
Right. Yes. Don't make me cut lemons. Right. But you have to know like again, like with the vision, you have to know what it is that you want and what that real vision looks like. So like another example of mine of how we interact is that she's not allowed to say uh-huh or yeah or okay or any other sort of like or like like no like guttural sounds for agreement or disagreement, right? She's to say yes or no, and that's it. Yes or no. There's none of that like teenage type responses allowed, right? So I have these sort of expectations as far as like as far as communication goes. And so that's part of my vision. It's part of what I want. And so you have to have this. You have to have this idea. You have to have a clear vision of how you want your relationship to be. And then from there, you can figure out, okay, what is it in there that I need to enact in order to create the thing that I envision? You know, just like the working out, just like creating a business, like you have to have the vision first, and then you reverse engineer in order to create that vision.
Right. So Samuel said, Justin, do coach men on, I guess he's saying, do you coach men on BDSM?
Yeah, I do. It's mostly just general DS, like dominance type relating, but people who want to, they can opt in and they can learn more about BDSM. But yes, I do.
Yeah, so guys, hit up Justin at the dominanceacademy.com. Make sure you got up Justin for real. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
And you know what's interesting about this whole topic of rules and stuff like that is because, you know, I think sometimes it's like you know, stuff like saying rules, or even sometimes talking about game. People have a very like resistant energy towards these certain words and these concepts and understanding these things, because I feel like what happens is that when you talk about game, people automatically think of manipulation and playing games and being effective and stuff like that. Or when you talk about rules, people look at it in a negative of, oh man, I got to do this. I don't feel like having to do that. Why can't I just be free and all this other stuff, right? Yep. And I think what happens is that those sort of thoughts about it come from looking at the sort of like the sort of like the using these concepts in a negative way. So like, for example, if we're talking about game, and if a person's like, well, I'm gonna just lie and manipulate and cheat, then you're using quote unquote game in a manipulative way to make a certain thing happen. So of course, when you hear game and you think that's all it is, then that's what's going to be your thought. So the same thing with rules. When you hear rules, a lot of people's I think relationship to rules are like, damn, this is just holding me down. You feel what I'm saying? This is like
restriction. Yep.
This is like oppressing me. But what the thing that people got to understand is that with rules is actually also freedom when you look at it on the other side, when you look at it in this side of the spectrum, because what it does is that what rules does is that it gives a structure, right? And it's in order for certain things to operate and to progress in a positive way. Because what happens is a lot of times when there aren't rules, on the flip side, certain things can occur that you definitely may not prefer, and those things occurred because there weren't rules. You see what I'm saying? So just like, for example, you might be driving, the rule is stop at the red light. You know what I'm saying? So like, so that other cars can go. But if you didn't stop, then hey, let's just all drive and, you know, good luck. You know what I'm saying? Like, it would be a bunch of crashes, people dying, all this other crazy. It'd be pandemonium. You see what I mean? So
yeah, or like in fitness, right? Like you have hard rules about, say, like no sugar intake. Okay. And the thing is that people will say, oh, man, I don't want to do that. That feels so restrictive. That feels so controlling. Yet they're actually free from the impulse to consume sugar. The people who are freely consuming sugar, for example, they're the ones who are actually imprisoned by their impulses. Right. So discipline actually creates freedom from the things that you're disciplining yourself from. Right. It only feels restrictive if you're still having that pull, but you know, you give it some time, and now that thing doesn't have as much pull over you, and you're no longer subject to that sort of suffering. right? Which you thought was, you just being hedonistic, living your best life, that sort of thing. I'm going to eat all the pizza I want, but really you're imprisoned by your addictions. So once you put certain control in under things, you then actually promote a certain sense of freedom from those things.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's something that like you just wouldn't understand if you never really had any sort of like discipline in your life,
Right.
and I guess that's where the point comes in that's helpful, like if a woman had something like that in her life prior, so that when you show up, it's not going to be so much of a surprise,
Right.
right?
And
But if it is, who cares? Just keep moving.
right. And 612, you're on the line. Did you donate?
Yes, sir. I sent it to Hashim. It says GGGGG.
Gotcha. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So what's going on?
Yes, gentlemen. First, name is Aaron. 40, calling from the app. Just want to say that Doom shirt is dope, and the game that y'all always bring is ill. I want to ask you a question. So, a lot of times when I'm interacting just with anybody, and this isn't just women, but a lot of times, I kind of have, I try to have a more, the attitude that I try to bring is a little bit more friendly in some ways. And I know, Locario, you've said this before, a lot of times people will look at you and they'll be intimidated by you. And I've had that happen a lot of times throughout my life. So I try to bring a little bit of comfort, just a little bit. And I know some people are like, fuck that. But, I try to be a little bit more approachable and just kind of go about it that way. But a lot of times what I'll notice is some people will get an idea of who I am or think they know who I am. And I know that can be a perspective thing. But and I know I'm saying a lot right now, but they'll do that. And then, if I'm having a conversation with them, I make a request or something. Sometimes that can be met with what I would think would be disrespect. And then what I'll have to do is I'll have to check it in the way I check it, basically. And you can tell me if this is something that I'm doing that I'm fucking up, or, what your thoughts are on it. But what I'll do is my whole aura will kind of shift, and basically they know I mean business. So a lot of times what I'll get is people will react in a certain kind of way, and then they'll shift it and they'll be like, okay, he's not fucking around. And it's not like a threatening thing. It's more along the lines of me just being like, look, I'm not going to take any disrespect. Otherwise I'm out. So it's not anything threatening.
So hold on. So let me ask you. What are you, I guess the question would be like, what are you specifically trying to, I guess, accomplish in your interactions with, I guess, women or people or whatever, and what makes you think they're like intimidated or anything like that? Like, what's the issue?
Yeah. So, and what, I'm not even saying is necessarily an issue. At one point I did think it was an issue, but what I've learned, and I want to ask you a question, but what I've learned is that, first of all, and you really helped me to see this within myself, is that, these days I really look at loving myself more. So, there's a lot more respect for myself, for my beliefs, knowing that what I want out of my life is the utmost important thing to me. So that's one thing I will say that I've come to the realization of, and have understood with myself. And like I said, a lot of the things that I've learned from you has really helped me to understand that better. But as far as what I want, it could be anything. So for an example, I deal a lot with music. So I'll say, hey, I got this going on. I got this kind of event going on. And when I'm talking with somebody, there's been times where it's been more dismissive. And I understand that not everybody is going to be interested in what you have to say, for whatever reason. But, I may ask for something.
So wait, caller. Hold on. So, cause like you're going on, but I'm trying to get to like
rambling. You're not answering the question. What are you expecting?
Yeah, like what do you want in these situations? So you're approaching a person, or let's say you're approaching a girl. What do you want to happen? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, got you. Yeah, so if I'm approaching somebody and I want a specific result, for example, I might want for somebody to come to an event. I'll say, hey, this is what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been times where it's been dismissive. So I might, and damn,
And you take that as disrespect?
Well, it's not so much them not,
Because what I want to know is, how do you mentioned disrespect? How do you know you've been disrespected?
Right.
That's a good question. Yeah. So, I guess you don't always know. It could be just a story you're telling in your mind, right? But I would say, if somebody is not, I try to be attentive when I'm talking to people. And so if I see somebody who's not really being attentive, and they're not really, they're like looking around or some shit, and I might be like, okay, I'm gonna just take my attention somewhere else. So that's what I tend to see as disrespect if that happens.
If they're not attentive?
Yes.
Is that what you said? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So this is the thing. Most people, when they say they've been disrespected or they feel disrespect, they're really talking about their emotions.
Right.
And they want to masculinize it and say they disrespected me, when really, if you get down to just like base, most fundamental communication, is the person is really saying, you hurt my feelings.
Right.
Disrespect has to do with a structure that has a certain part that has been violated. It has nothing to do with how you feel, right? This is something we were talking about earlier in the show. You can't have your feelings in the law. You can't have your feelings in the structure. You can't have your feelings in the rules. If there's an infraction, it's just simply dealt with. It has nothing to do with how you feel, right? But a lot of times they'll say, oh, this person disrespected me. Chances are likely that, I would say 99% of the time when people say that, they're just saying, you hurt my feelings. So that's why I was asking you, how do you know you were disrespected? Because either it was your feelings telling you this, or you have a specific rule about yourself that I expect X, Y, Z, and this person violated that. So which is it?
It's a rule.
So
okay.
I would say for me, it's a rule to answer that question, as far as I look at how people, but I guess we can't really.
And then how serious of a rule is that? Is it high protocol, or, because there's different types of rules. You look in a state, you got felonies, you got misdemeanors, you got, right? So there's levels to it. So if this is a high level rule break, you immediately pull out the axe and it's done, right? If it's not, then you can check the behavior and redirect. If you really don't care at all about this person, you just ignore them. Yeah. Right? Like there's levels to this. So it really depends on the situation, what the rule is, the severity of what was broken, that determines how it's dealt with. Because a misdemeanor is not going to be treated in the same way as a felony.
Right. Shout out to Miles. Miles said insecure people always assume disrespect, and that's because Cole, I heard you say, you was like, you tell a person about this concert or event and then they're dismissive of it. Right. That's what you said earlier. Right. Right. So my question to you is, why do you care that they're dismissive of it?
That's a good point. And why do I care?
Right.
It's not even so much of the concert. It's even just interacting with somebody if it does happen. So yeah, that's a great point. Why should I care? I shouldn't care.
Right, because this is the thing. This is the thing. What's really going on is this. This is what happens a lot of times. So you're like, and we'll just use the example of telling someone about the event. So you're telling someone about the event and they're dismissive of it. So now what happens is that you expect them to be excited about the event like you're excited about the event, or you expect them to have the same level of energy and enthusiasm about the event that you do. So when they don't have it, then what happens is that in your mind, you might take it as disrespect, or you might feel a certain type of way because them being dismissive of it in some form or fashion makes you focus on the doubt that you might have in the event. Do you see what I'm saying? So you might say, man, if they're dismissive about it, maybe this event ain't all that. Like, why? And that's why you feel a certain type of way. So it's a lot of it has to do with validation. So a lot of times when people are looking for validation, they feel offended when the person they're looking for validation with doesn't give them the validation. You see what I'm
Let me
saying?
ask you that makes perfect.
Hope.
I didn't mean to cut you off with
Right.
that. I want to ask you a follow-up question with
Mhm.
that. Would that be the same? And I know we were talking about levels and the depth that these can go to. Would you say, in most cases, if not all, that would be the same for not for somebody that you don't know that you just met, but let's say it's somebody that you had some level of understanding with, or talking with somebody that you may have known for a while?
Yeah, it's the same. It's the
Would you
same
say
thing. Yeah,
that's the
just
same thing?
same
It's all
thing.
about validation.
Same thing. Because this is the thing that you got to understand, right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing because what happens is that let's say, again, let's use that same example of talking about the event and introducing that to somebody, right? What it is that you're letting the person know about it because maybe you want them to come to the event or whatever it is like that. But them being dismissive of it, whether it's a person you know or don't know, right? It's still, you're worried about the outcome of having that conversation. But the reason why you're worried about the outcome of having that conversation is because you're attaching the outcome or you're attaching the event to your identity. You see what I'm saying? So a lot of times the reason why people look for validation is because what happens is that they look at their ideas or the conversations they're having, the thoughts, the whatever they're bringing to the situation, they attach that to themselves. So if you're dismissive of the event I'm telling you about, then it's like, I feel like you're dismissing me. So if you're saying, I don't like the event, it's almost like you're saying you don't like me. You see what I'm saying? So that's what makes you offended, because you're looking for them to have the excitement, because if they're excited about the event, that must mean they're excited about me too, because I'm representing the event. I'm bringing this to you. So that you're closely tied into the thing. So a lot of times what happens is when we talk about, understanding game and understanding yourself, it's being able to have these conversations and interactions and be engaged in the conversation and interaction, but also detaching your sense of identity from the interaction. Because as soon as you couple your identity with the interaction, then what happens is that now you feel bad because the person dismisses the event, because now you're like, damn, they just played me. They don't care about what I'm talking about. So they don't care about me and blah, blah. So then you start to question yourself, or maybe I'm not that cool. Maybe that, what I'm trying to do is not that great. And then it starts to permeate within your own self-esteem. And then you start to look for more validation cycle, because now you're going to need more people to validate you, to lift you up, because you're looking for people to lift you up in the first place. You see what I'm saying?
Right. Now, I want to ask you this. I don't want to stay too long. And I heard what you just said. Now, what I have been doing, not just trying, but what I've been doing in the past several months or so is I do bring in that line of thinking to a degree. And I want to know how helpful this could be, because what I'll do is, I'll look at what you're just saying, and I'll say, why the fuck am I feeling this way? I'm on some bullshit. I'll basically say that to myself. Do you think that is really helpful, or is there something else that I need to do in addition to that for myself?
I think you need to take it a step further, because it's good on the first part, but to finish it with I'm on some bullshit, that's cutting it off too soon. Okay. Understanding why on a deeper level is how you stop doing certain behaviors, right? How you stop having certain unhelpful perceptions and beliefs. So you have to get to the root of understanding why you're doing something once you become aware of it. Not just say, this is bullshit and I'm just going to stop, because that's not really going to address the root of the source of where that came from in the first place. Does that make sense?
So I think it does. So is that something like I'm finding a root of something could be considered trauma? Is that what you're saying?
In some cases, it doesn't necessarily have to be trauma. It could just be a habit. It could just be a developed perception, a developed belief that's linked to certain ways you feel about yourself or whatever. But no, it doesn't necessarily have to be trauma. But the point is just to ask yourself a little bit deeper than just saying this is bullshit. Yes, it is bullshit, but to just brush it off like that doesn't necessarily address the root of the problem. So it's understanding how these things come about. Now you'll understand the pathways for certain things, and your psyche will no longer take those pathways, right? It will form new pathways. So then once you're in this sort of situation, you're solid no matter what you're doing, and you're no longer attached to, I really hope that this person likes what I'm doing. I'm not saying you consciously think this, but subconsciously you're thinking this and getting some sort of value from that. Those linkages will be broken. So now you can just simply do, and there's no value brought to it whatsoever. It's a non-issue. They like the thing, cool. If they don't like the thing, cool. It has no bearing on how you feel about yourself whatsoever. But you can only get to that point through a little bit deeper digging.
Because this is the thing, caller. The reason why you got to get to the root of it is because just saying, "Oh, this is bullshit," it's good because you're aware, but it's still surface level. It's just like, for example, if I have a toothache, I could be like, "Oh, my teeth is hurting, and it's because maybe I don't brush it, so let me brush it more." But the root of the problem is I need a root canal, because deep in my roots, there's something that needs to be fixed in order for the tooth to actually heal. So the same thing in your mentality. So, and this is how you get to the root of it, is you have to question, or I should say, ask questions to yourself and be honest about the answers. So for example, right. So you might say, damn, well, why do I'm upset about this? Why? Then you ask them, why are you upset about this? Oh, because I felt that person made me feel embarrassed. Why do you feel embarrassed? Oh, because, I don't like that other people look at me a certain way. Why you don't like the way people, you see what I'm saying? You got to keep going deeper and deeper, but you got to be honest, because what most people do is this, and y'all notice this when y'all call. A lot of y'all call, and notice how more than half the people that call are not being honest with their problem. They call in, they be like, "Yo, Justin, Locario, Miles, I was with this girl." We be like, "All right, how long he's with her?" I mean, it wasn't really that long. It's like they don't want to actually get to the roots of the shit. So you got to be honest. So a lot of times you're not going to get to the root of it unless you're being honest. But the reason why people don't want to be honest is because being honest a lot of times is scary, because then you get to the actual reality of what's going on. And most people don't want to get to the reality of what's going on, because to get to the reality of what's going on means that you would actually be able to see the reality. And once you see the reality, you can't unsee the reality. And then now you have to actually address the reality. You see what I'm saying? Because when you're bullshitting yourself and you're lying to yourself, right? That's easier because you can continue to live in the lie. Once you see the truth, it's damn near impossible for you to lie to yourself any longer. So now that you get to the truth, you're like, should I actually have to deal with the truth? And that's scary to people, because most people, they're not ready to deal with that truth. You see what I'm saying?
I hear what you're both saying. And okay, so what I do is when I go on walks, I take some walks some days, and I'll ask myself these things. And I thought it was more, until I started hearing you really say that about asking those same questions and going deeper with yourself, and just, pause. But, just asking those fucking questions to yourself and answering them truthfully for yourself. I thought you were going to, and I'm sure there's something else you can do, but I've been doing that, but I thought you were going to say even something further than that. But honestly, I have been doing that with myself, and I have been noticing that when I do it, I'll even pull back from it, and I'm like, do I really want to acknowledge that this is what's going on with me? And I have to stop myself, and I have to be like, yeah, that's what it is. So that's also part of what I meant with, the whole bullshit. But I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, so all it is really you just gotta be brave enough to go down that path. You feel what I'm saying? Because then you'll actually really fight. This is why it's shout out to April. She put the truth is inside you. That's all we say, that is that the reality, the truth, what's really going on is already inside you. You just have to recognize it and address it and accept it and be able to and know how to move forward from that. So for example, if you're in a situation where you're looking for validation through others, right? And I'm just using this as an example, right? A person might say, "Oh, well, I feel like I need other people's validation because I don't think I'm good enough for X, Y, and Z." So getting to the point or realization that you feel that you're not good enough for X, Y, and Z is a truth that most people don't want to address, because to address it means that they have to actually work on something. And most people don't want to work on something. Most people want everything else outside of them to change, but they don't want to have to change themselves. They don't have to work on themselves. So that's why people never really get to the point where they help themselves, because they don't want to actually look in the mirror and get to that point where the truth is at. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely, I do. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it. Mr. Just,
welcome.
Is there a way that I can send you something to?
No, it's fine.
Got you.
You can get me next time.
Yeah, just go to
or, you get me back. Yeah, hit me up on IG, thedominance.academy, and let's have a conversation. That's how you can pay it forward.
All right.
Thank you, fellas.
You're welcome. I would say this based on this conversation. The word why has to be one of the most sharpened tools in a man's repertoire.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, why and how?
Right?
Not who, why and how. Okay, the who is only pertaining to the self, but why gives you so much context and understanding for so many things.
Right.
And it gives you an understanding of your constitution. It gives you understanding for your program. It gives you understanding for your sense of self. It gives you understanding how you want to run your relationship. It gives you understanding how you want to implement rules. If you have an understanding of why you're doing these things, right? And if you get to a deeper sense of that why, what's the real, like a deep motivator, then you'll understand yourself at a much deeper level. And then when you're interacting with other people, you're interacting with other men, or you're interacting with women in your life, why becomes a much more important thing than what, right? It doesn't matter. Like, so she's doing X. Okay, fine. She's doing X, but why? What's the reason? What's the motivation? And, can you influence that motivation? Right? That's where the gold is, guys.
Right. And really understanding the why is going to get you closer to that truth. Cause check this out, it's funny. Like, I remember, cause I know a lot of guys, for example, are scared to approach women because they're scared to get rejected. Right. So, but then if you ask them, why are you so scared of her saying no? Why are you scared to get rejected? And sometimes it's because they're like, if they really dug deep, it would be, well, I have a fear of her saying no, because if she says no to me, then I'm going to feel bad, or I'm going to feel, what I already think about myself. I think that I'm not good enough. So she says no, then I'm going to it's going to be confirmed by her that I am not good enough. So I would rather not approach her, because I'm scared of hearing the no, because what the no means about how I feel about myself. Right. And what happens is that can go in different directions, because I tell you the truth. There are times where I remember this, like, I remember different scenarios where this happened, where I was going to approach a girl and I stopped myself. Right. And the reason why I stopped myself, when I actually look back on it and I asked myself, why, I'm like, why the hell did you stop yourself? Now, I remember on separate occasions, the reason why I stopped myself wasn't because I was nervous to talk to her. It was, I stopped myself because my ego was so big that I said to myself, if this woman says no to me, Mr.Locario, how dare she? I'm not even gonna give her the chance to say no to me. It's the same concept. But I had to question myself to get to the truth, because I'm like, oh, I'm not gonna bother to approach her, because if she says no to me, then I'm gonna feel some type of way, because I'm Mr.Locario.
Right, this built up image. Yeah.
So I didn't want to fucking fuck up the image I had in my own mind of who I think I am. Do you see what I'm saying?
Right.
So when you ask yourself why and you get to the truth, you're like, oh shit. And just like the caller said, that's some bullshit. You know what I'm saying? So but you got to get to the root of it to see what it really is.
Why is it bullshit?
Exactly. You see what I'm saying? You got to get to the root. So 757, hold on, let me get this call real quick. 757, you are on the line. Did you donate?
Yes, sir. I donated to your PayPal.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it. Got you. So what's going on, fam?
How are you guys doing, man? Great topic today.
Doing well.
quick thought about something. My name is Steven. I'm 32, from New York. And what does it mean when, I guess not when women say, but when people in general have the idea that women need to be comfortable, like you need to make women feel comfortable? Like, what does that actually mean?
Yeah, I don't necessarily adhere to making women comfortable, but I also do not agree with actively trying to make a woman uncomfortable. So what I mean by that is that I don't believe it's your job to try to make a woman comfortable, but you shouldn't intentionally try to make a woman uncomfortable. So I don't want you to be like, well, it's not my job to make a woman comfortable, so fuck her. I'm going to do whatever and act crazy. I don't think that's the case. What happens is that usually a woman's going to be comfortable around you, right? Because she is attracted to you and you're the type of guy who knows how to interact with women. You understand? So you're a likable, charismatic, interesting man. So she's more than likely going to be comfortable around you. A lot of times what happens is that women will get uncomfortable around guys because they might be acting kind of weird, or she's just not really attracted to him. And so she's telling him, hey, I got to be more comfortable with you in order to make something happen. And I think a lot of guys get confused by this. See, the thing is, women will say things, and this even shout out to Kiki. I had an interview with her yesterday, and some guys got confused by what she was saying. Sometimes what happens is women will say things or try to explain things, but they may not necessarily know how to explain it because they're on the other side of the equation. So they can't really tell you, like they can't explain how they're feeling because they don't, like, so meaning that you ask the woman, oh, well, why are you uncomfortable? What do I need to do to make you comfortable? She can't accurately explain it, but generally speaking, she's just really not attracted to you. That's why she's uncomfortable. But she thinks if you make her comfortable, she will be more attracted. But you as a person who has game need to understand that that's not true. But Justin, what's your thoughts on this?
Well, my question would be, what is the motivation behind a man wanting to make a woman comfortable in the first place? Because that to me shows they're seeking a certain amount of approval or seeking some sort of outcome in order for him to feel better about the situation. You know, I'm with you. I wouldn't go out of my way to make someone feel uncomfortable, but that's not even on the forefront of my mind at all, of thinking, how can is she comfortable? How do I make her comfortable? I'm not observing her that way. The only thing I'm observing is if she is compliant, right? And so if I'm out early with a woman, like I'm saying, like early on in terms of the interaction time, like I just met her, it's her first time meeting up, you know, I do very low level, low ask of energy type compliance tests, if you want to call them that. And they're very simple asks. Like say we met up to have a drink, you know, and I get up and I say, hey, I'm going to use the restroom. Please order me a Negroni, right? This is my favorite cocktail. And then I get up and come back. If the Negroni's sitting there, fantastic, right? It's a very low level ask. We're already in a bar. It doesn't take much to get up and walk to the bartender and say, hey, can I have a Negroni, please? So it's sort of things like that. That's the only thing I'm looking for, is just that initial low level compliance to see if they're really into that. I'm not looking to see if they're comfortable. You know, I'm a different person where, you know, if the vibe is there and I can feel that pull.
816, put yourself on mute. We're going to get to you next. 816, put yourself on mute, please. All right, go ahead, Joseph.
Yeah. This is just a little bit of a tangent, but I'm a little bit sadistic. So if I know the vibe is there, I know she wants me, then I will inject small things in there to make her feel uncomfortable, right? Or that, like, maybe I don't like her as much as she thinks I do, or something along those lines. It's a little bit manipulative, but it's all done in the heart of having fun. You know, look up coquettishness, and you'll see what who did that book on seduction? Was that
Robert Greene? Yeah,
he's got a section in there called describing the coquette, and you can understand like how to cause that tension, which actually increases their desire for you. But anyways, that's just a sidebar.
And shout out to Miles. He said if a man is comfortable and confident, she will follow his lead. That's a fact. So caller, are you dating girls who telling you that you got to make them more comfortable?
sometimes they do. But I follow you, Mr. Locario, so I know when they say that they're just not as interested.
So they say, wait, they say this when? When do they say this on it? Like a dating app?
Yeah, like, okay, so for instance, I was at a bar,
I see.
and I was setting up a date for this week. So I hit the girl before. I'm like, yeah, we still cool for tomorrow. I can send you the details if we are. She says, yes, it's fine. I send her the address to the spot. And then she comes back and says, I'm not comfortable coming to a new neighborhood, especially with someone I just met. LOL. Right? So I said, all right, no worries. When you feel different, you got my number. Just let me know when you feel a bit more comfortable. So
yeah, that's a good way to handle it.
And then you hear everyone saying, yeah, you got to make women feel comfortable. You got to, like, I'm leaving women here. And then there's a lot of people that are like, it's like, what do you mean comfortable? Like, what am I doing? Like you, Mr. Locario, I'm not trying to make them uncomfortable, but
yeah, that's just code word. That's just code word for I'm not really that interested. You understand what I'm saying? Because you got to. This is what you guys got to understand, right? So, and this is I think this is one of the most difficult things for guys to understand, because most guys have not been in situations where women go out of their way for the guy she's interested in. So what happens is that a lot of times, so for example, like there's women who will travel long distances. There's women, I told this story about this girl that I used to hook up with in college, where she told me about some date she went on with a drug dealer and went with him to a drug deal. I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Right. So, so the thing is that women, they'll go and do what they got to do. When a woman says, oh, I'm not comfortable, I'm not that type of girl. We need to get to know each other more. All of those things are code words for I am not highly interested in you. Because when a woman's highly interested in you, what she says in her own mind is, how do I, get myself to do the thing I need to do to get with that guy? It's just like, for example, if I called you and I said, hey, bro, you got somebody in your family, somebody you never met before, you never knew that you had an uncle, they left you $10 million, but you have to get it by Friday. So figure out a way to get to Dubai by Friday. You're going to be like, man, I'm actually not comfortable getting on a plane and going all the way. No, you're going to be like, what the fuck can okay, I got to start making plans. I got to get on a flight tonight. Like, you're going to be thinking of ways to get to Dubai. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. So
that because you desire it that much. Do you see what I'm saying? So that's what you guys got to understand about when a woman desires you, she's going to figure out a way to make it happen. She's not going to be resistant to the situation. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Reminds me of that girl, that story about in India. And she was this 22-year-old woman, and she swam across a river over an hour to illegally enter India.
Right.
She was, I think, from like West Bengal or Bangladesh or something like that. But anyway, she swam across the river for an hour to meet her like husband to be. And she illegally entered the country. So she broke federal law and swam for an hour across the river just to meet up with this dude.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I have one more question. And then before we get to the call, is that cool?
Yeah, go ahead. You good?
Yeah.
All right, for sure. So when it comes to social circle situations, like in a party and everything as well, quick scenario for context. Like me and my boy, we go out a lot to bars, clubs, and everything. He sees how I move and all that kind of stuff. How I go about and get girls. And we're throwing a party. And he calls me this morning. He says, hey, bro, I'm inviting a lot of girls to the party. Can you not be, you not get at them at the party? I see how you are in bars, clubs, and stuff. Cool. But I want exactly. And then I want the vibe to be good. So what's your thought on that?
Bruh, are you serious? Listen,
yeah, man.
Your friend is in the friend zone with all these women. And he doesn't want you to fuck up his friend zoned life. That's all that is.
He doesn't want to fuck up his perceived chances with women that he doesn't have a chance with.
Exactly. So basically, he's in a position where he knows a few women or whatever that he's attracted to, but he doesn't have any game. So he's like, hey, could you not come through and because I feel like if you talk to women and flirt with them, they're gonna get scared off, because that's what he's thinking about himself.
Right.
Which is why he has all these female friends that he can invite to these parties and entertain. So you guys got to understand that your friend is, you know, a dude who ain't got game. That's all that really is. You just got to understand that that's the aspect of it. You see what I'm saying? Now, this is the thing. You can still come to the party and you can still, you know, talk to the women. You feel what I'm saying? The thing is that, see, he's coming from an understanding from a beta male kind of perspective, right? Because if you were to go to that party, let's say you meet a girl and she's attracted to you and you guys are having a conversation and y'all are flirting and y'all hit it off or whatever and everything is flowing, right? Yeah. Then what's going to happen is you're going to be glad you went to that party and that woman's going to be glad that you were there. Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah. He's projecting his fear and his inexperience on you. Do you see what I'm saying? So I would say go to the party and holler at them chicks and see what's popping. You feel what I'm saying? Like, don't worry about it. He doesn't understand because he's not in a place of understanding, which is why he's coming at you that way. You just got to understand that that's the case. You see what I mean?
And as far as the show goes, like we were talking about rules, a rule you can have this is for all men. Don't become friends with losers.
Exactly. That's a fact. Exactly. Real shit. Like
befriend men who are on a similar level as you. So you never hear weird ass shit like that. Because a man who's in that life, who's gamed up as it were, he's never going to say something along those lines. Never.
Right. He's not going to be like, hey, bro, don't talk to the women. Like, what?
No, a man's never going to try to cock block another man.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I told him, I stood on my square. I told him, like, dude, like, if I have a connection with one of the women there or multiple women there, then I'm going to go for it.
Right.
And I'm not going to change who I am just so you feel more comfortable. So that's where the idea of like comfortability, and I was watching a show with you yesterday with the viral girl, Kiki, and you know, she said it as well. I'm like, what's this whole comfortable thing really mean? And
right. And let me say that real quick before we move on to the next caller. And this is what a lot of you guys missed or don't understand when women. So I had some dudes in the comment section. I was going to respond to this too, but I responded with now. They were like, Locario, I don't understand. Like, you know, she was saying certain things that go against what you were saying. And I'm like, of course she's going to say things that go against what I'm saying because she's saying it from her perspective as a woman, but also she could be saying it because her agenda as a woman is to not let you know what the real deal is, right? So what happens is, okay, and think about it like this. The reason why a woman is saying, hey, you got to make me more comfortable is because she always thinks like I said, she can't explain why. And this is the thing. Sometimes she knows what she's doing because it's being manipulative, but sometimes she can't explain to you that she's not really interested. So meaning she thinks by you quote unquote making her more comfortable, then she will be more interested. But what's really going on is the guys who quote unquote made her more comfortable is just guys who wore her down and that she settled for. That's not really the guy she's that interested in. So basically she's saying, hey, listen, if you make me more comfortable, then maybe things can progress. What she's really saying is, if you wear me down, maybe I'll give in. That's what's really going down. But also what's happening here is this, right? You're asking, this is what you guys got to be careful about when you sort of like ask women particularly for advice. You're asking someone for advice who doesn't understand what it takes to do the thing you're asking for. So, for example, what if, let's say do you order stuff on Amazon?
All the time.
Right. Now, what if I asked you, hey, could you explain to me the exact specific step-by-step ins and outs of how Amazon gets your package from the warehouse all the way to your house? Could you explain that accurately?
Not at all.
Right. Why? Because you're the recipient of the package. You are not the person who gives you the package. Do you see what I'm saying? So you might say, well, they say, hey, caller, how can we make this happen? You say, well, I don't know. Maybe if you make me more comfortable, then I'll receive the package. No, you don't know how you receive the package. You just order it and you receive it. You don't know the ins and outs. So a woman doesn't know the ins and outs of how I created a situation for her to love me. for her to desire. She don't know that shit. She can't explain to you how it is. She just knows she's feeling it. She just knows she's the recipient of it. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. And so that's why you can't really take it too seriously, because she doesn't have an idea. She thinks she does. So you might say, well, maybe the way you get the package is maybe you just have to like drive the truck down I-95. That's what you're thinking, but you don't know. So when she's saying, yeah, maybe you got to just make her more comfortable, she doesn't know. You see what I'm saying? She can't tell you because she has no idea. That's what she thinks it is, but she has no idea. Just like you have no idea how the package gets from the warehouse to you, but you may assume or think, but you can't really accurately tell it. The only person that can accurately tell it is the person that works at Amazon that's doing the things. So this is why when we're teaching you game, a guy who has game can tell you how to make these things happen. The woman is the recipient, so she can't really tell you. She just is experiencing the receiving the package. You see what I'm saying? That's all it is.
Yeah.
You get it?
Yeah, I definitely got it. I appreciate it, Mr. Locario. Thank you, Coach Justin, for your thoughts as well.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Hi, brother. Appreciate the call, man. All right, so let's go to 816. 816 was popping. Who this?
Hey, it's Jordan.
Jordan did. Oh, I see the donation. Hold on, Jordan. Hold on. Okay, I see the donation. I got you.
Yeah, you see the two things. I didn't know it was the situation, so
yes, sir. So what's going on? What's the question?
Yeah, so it's kind of weird that that you guys are live right now, because I was in a situation today with this woman I got at, and she kind of ended up. So I've been get on for like a couple of weeks, but like I just kind of been doing it slow. But she kind of hit me with the fact that she's in an open situation with a dude that she's engaged with. So for me, it's like, it's kind of new, so I ain't never really experienced something such as that. You know what I'm saying? I'm still kind of processing the situation. But I just kind of played it along and stuff like that. But I didn't really have in my mind what I was going to do or not. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just trying to understand and navigate that situation the best I can. Where if I do decide to get into it or proceed, that I'm not going to F myself over, or I don't want to F them over at the same time. I want to be responsible here. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know exactly what my mind is right now.
Okay,
what is your question?
Yeah, what's the question? Like, what are you trying to hook up with?
Like, thank you for laying that out. But so, do you have a question about the situation?
Yeah, it's just I don't understand it. Like, I don't understand. I don't know how
So that's a statement. I don't understand is a statement. Do you have a question about what you don't understand?
It's new for me, guys. I don't.
So wait. So wait. Stop. So let me. Okay, where'd you meet this woman?
I don't mean anything, but it's just new. It's fresh.
No. Okay. So wait. Where'd you meet this woman? Where'd you meet her?
It's at work.
At work. Okay. So, all right. What are you trying to do? Date this woman? Smash?
Like, if that's the question.
Yeah. What do you want to do? That's what I'm saying. What do you want to do?
Yeah, I just want to keep it as casual as possible, especially because she's in that situation. I don't want to.
So you just want to smash? So caller, you just want to smash?
Yeah. I mean, I think she's down with it as well.
Wait, hold on a second. Why were you not very grounded in how you answered that?
Yeah, he sounded like he wasn't sure.
Like, yeah, I don't know if I want to, like, what, you just want to like feel her titties a little bit, or
what do you want to do?
I don't know. It just might be the Midwestern in me. I just how it may come off. Yes, I'm trying to, do what I got to do with it for sure. But I mean,
where you live has nothing to do with it.
I think I can. I think I know I can. Actually, I know I can.
But caller,
it's just the aspect of being it safely.
Caller. Yeah. This is what I'm asking you.
Yeah.
Do you want to have sex with this woman? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Okay. Now, is this woman showing you sexual interest?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
now,
I believe so. Yeah.
Now, so my question to you would be, what difference does it make that she's in an open situation or if she's single if you're just trying to hook up?
Right.
it's the guy. I don't necessarily know how that dynamic is. You know what I'm saying?
No, but that's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you don't need to know the dynamic if she's letting you know, hey, listen, I'm in an open situation, which means she's allowed to see other guys. Then if you want to hook up, then y'all just get together and hook up.
Gotcha.
You see what I'm saying? You're overthinking this thing because you're worried about her situation. Okay, check this out, caller. Let's say you met a girl tonight at a bar and she was single. Would you hook up with her?
Yeah, most likely. Yeah.
Right. So, but what if that girl that you're hooking up with at the bar is hooking up with two other guys, random, like there's two other guys she's fucking with. She has two fuck buddies. What's the difference between that and the woman in an open relationship?
Nothing.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. Like you all in your head for nothing, bro.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. The only thing that I would add is how much do you trust that she's telling you the truth?
Right. That's another
because and I only say this because you said she's engaged. Okay, so this is like her man on the other end. Mm-hmm. We don't know his level of manhood. Okay. We don't know if they truly do have an open relationship. So if the worst case scenario is they don't have an open relationship and he's, one of these like crazy simp dudes who has a gun in his nightstand, you've got a fuck ton of problems on your hands. Mm-hmm. Okay. So what I would do if you're really interested, and this for me is even like stepping too far out of line for just to get some pussy.
Right.
But if you really wanted to, okay, I would at least establish some sort of objective truth to the fact of what she's saying, not just because she says it, like some sort of like a screenshot, a text, or even a conversation, because I know people who are in situations where they have open conversations. They're like, oh, hey, this is Bob. Meet my husband, Jeff.
Right.
Like it's very open. There's a lot of communication. Like those are actually the best ones.
Right.
Where it's not like don't see, don't tell, but I know it's happening. That's not that great. It's the ones that have a lot of communication that are open. So everybody's in the know and there's less problems. So I would try to figure out if she's telling the truth because it could turn into something really, really bad for you.
Right. So yeah.
And that's what I'm afraid of. So I need to take my time and just kind of build rapport to the situation. I guess is what you're trying to say there. Yeah.
You don't have to build rapport. You just have to ask specific questions.
Right.
And get specific evidence. And honest, like I said before, that's working a little too much just to have a leg.
That's what I'm thinking. And so yeah, that's it's one of those like, it's funny, and I'm glad you brought that up, Justin. The funny part about of this is, like you said, you could get the information, but getting all that information and taking that time to even deal with that is way too much to bother. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. When there's so many women who are just would be willing, open, who like you, and you don't have to deal with any kind of that bullshit.
Right. K-Zagan said that.
Hey, wait. How hot is she?
Man, she's pretty cold. I ain't gonna lie to you, but I mean that doesn't matter because I've been traumatized in the past by crazy dudes.
Wrong answer. You know what the right answer is? The right answer is to ask me, what does hot mean?
Right, exactly.
Right?
Okay.
There's no such thing as tens. There's no such thing as baddies. There's no such thing as hot chicks. None of that exists really.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that you should just not mess with her at all.
Yeah, that's my advice. Shout out to K-Zagan in the chat. He said the fact that he's all over the place, he needs to leave it alone, too indecisive. And see, this is the thing. A lot of times what happens is that when you learn game, you get more experience, and the more experience makes you to be able to deal with these type of situations more effectively, because even the fact that this is a woman you work with, right? Correct?
Right. True.
So even the fact the fact that you're trying to get a woman that you work with, that's already an issue.
That's so dumb.
You see what I'm saying?
How much do you like your job?
I like my job. I do like my job.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then don't talk to women at your job.
Yeah, I would say to leave her alone. You know why? Because You don't.
Oh my God. Layer in an HR problem.
Right. You don't
Plus
see.
an angry husband.
Right. You don't have enough game to deal with HR and her husband. That's what I'm saying. It's too much for you, bro. You're not ready for that. You're not ready for that level, bro. You're not ready for that level, man. I'm telling you. You're not ready for that level.
No,
I appreciate it. That's really all I needed to know from you guys. I guess talk me off that ledge, and I appreciate that.
Yes, sir. And you know, it's funny. I feel like you the type that's gonna catch feelings, so you're gonna have even another problem.
Exactly.
See, he know what it is. Like, exactly.
Hey, it starts with that self-awareness.
Right, he know. He's like, he gonna call and be like, hey, girl, where you at? She'll be like, I'm with my man. He gonna be like, why don't you get rid of him and be with me?
No, you're gonna start writing her poems.
Exactly. He gonna be like, she cheating on me with her man.
Hey, if I start writing her poems, she gonna leave him for real.
I already know y'all dudes be in y'all feelings. He trying to take her away. He's like, listen, she just don't know I'm the man for her. Oh,
I'm gonna get that girl.
That's crazy, bro. That shit wild. All right, man. So yeah, I say leave that alone. Find you a nice single Christian girl at church. You be all right. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Got it.
All right, brother.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys taking my call.
Yes, sir. All right. Peace.
Yeah.
All right. So guys, call up. We got maybe another 15, 20 minutes. And then we gonna wrap this shit up, man. But yeah, that's a good call, Justin, because yeah, you know, you gotta know what the situation is, because some of these dudes, they get caught up because they're not aware of what could go down. And on top of that, the fact, you know, you could tell he would be the type to catch feelings and shit, you know.
Yeah. Now, as it relates to what we're talking about in general here about rules, fellas, you're watching this, you're listening to this guy. Just not to pick on him, but just as an example of a certain archetype that is very common. All right. Imagine him trying to maintain, establish, and start up rules.
Right.
Like you can't do it. You have to be solid in yourself first. Because if you have any of that stuff, right? Like Locario on Earth, like the caller was joking around and laughing, but it was some of the truth. Like he said, like, yeah, you're probably the one who's going to catch feelings first really fast.
Right.
And those emotional attachments are going to cause problems. They're going to be behind the things that you think are rules that are trying to, like, you know, maintain something, but it's really just trying to maintain the emotional safety. So it's like, if you're going to get into having structure in your relationships, you cannot be like this guy.
Right.
You know, no offense to the caller, but just someone who's like him. You have to expunge all of that crap out of you first.
Right. Because I kind of figured he would probably be the type to catch feelings, because when he first said, he was like, when we said, hey, do you want to smash? He's like, yeah, kind of. He's like, yeah, you gonna catch feelings because you actually are.
He probably already likes her.
Yeah, that's the thing. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, so that and like you said, that's the type of situation where you're not going to be objective enough to create rules to be able to enforce that and to make it happen, because you know, when you're swayed by your emotion, it's going to be hard for you to make the rational decisions that need to be made to create a structure that's going to work. And this is what we're saying. We're not saying that you can't have emotions, but what it is that you have to be able to, because this is the thing I look at it as, like, right? Because, you know, as a man in a motherfucker with game, you have to get to the point where you love your girl, but at the same time, you are not immersed in love to where you're emotional. So you have to be able to know how to love without, without getting caught up in too much of the emotional part of it, because that's going to dissipate the what you need to know in order to create a foundation, in order to create a structure and maintain it. Because how can I maintain a relationship where if there's rules in place and I get emotional, and then now because I'm emotional, I disregard the rules because I'm going with just my feelings. And then therefore, if I disregard the rules, how do I expect the woman that I'm with to follow the rules if the man she's looking up to isn't? You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Yeah, that's an integral point. That's an integral point. You have to be the model in which to follow.
Right.
So if you're chaotic, if you're volatile, if you're unpredictable, then you can't expect her not to be chaotic, not to be vulnerable or volatile, and not to be unpredictable.
Right.
You're going to lead her no matter what you're doing, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're like this, you can't say she's not allowed to be like that if you are. It doesn't make any sense.
Exactly. So let me see what some of these questions are saying in the chats. So this says, when you become immersed in the game, the more you start to see things for what they really are and not what you want them to be. I mean, that's true. That is a statement. It's not a question, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
it is.
I agree with that. It says, what if someone cusses at you or calls you a name jokingly and the misdemeanor keeps happening even though you told them to stop? So what's your thoughts on that, Justin?
Well, like I said before, it's not about using just the hatchet. You have to use the hatchet and the compass, right? Mm-hmm. So you can't just say, stop doing that. You say, stop doing that. What I prefer for you to use is this. Mm-hmm. And then you can illustrate what will happen. And then after that, you say, if it continues, X is going to happen. You explain the consequence. Either you remove yourself from their life, or you stop doing this, you stop doing that, depending on whatever the situation is. So you you do address it, you correct them and explain verbatim what you expect to hear, and then explain the consequence.
Real talk. So we got I think we got Monogamous Player on the line. What's going on, fam?
Yes, sir. What's up, Mr. Locario? I donated. What's up, Mr.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it. What's up? Yeah. So what's going on?
Oh, yes, sir, Mr. Locario. I just wanted to comment on yesterday's show. I really enjoyed yesterday's show because there was a lot of different perspectives. And shout out to what's her name, Kiki?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Shout out to Kiki, right? But there are some things that I disagree with that she was saying. Well, I understand what she was saying when it comes to like women and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I feel like a lot of guys that fall into, simping for girls like her or for looks and stuff like that, this is going to go over their head, right?
Right.
See, first of all, I realized yesterday a lot of her talking points was based on how she looked. So she was like, "Oh, if you want to deal with a woman like me and do this and do that, right? Then you got to come with it and stuff like that, right?"
Right.
But she didn't let you know that looks are subjective. Mr. Locario, you know how many fine girls that I walk by that, like on the surface of it, they look good to me, but they just don't have it though. Right. I come across a lot of girls like that. Yeah, they look good, but they don't have that aura or they don't have that energy. And if a girl is putting you in the friend zone, how can she really have that aura and that energy with you? You see what I'm saying? Right. So for me, as a player guy, I wouldn't fall for the BS because I don't care how good you look. You see what I'm saying? And then and another thing is too, because I know she was saying, well, I'm teaching women to get what they want, and these simp guys got to do all this for me to even consider, right? And then she kind of gave a valid point, which I kind of noticed, right? You notice that for the guys that put themselves in the simp category, right? You notice that the more that you do, the further along the rope is going to be.
Right.
Because she was saying that, if he keeps doing this and he put himself in the position, then he has to keep doing that.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? But once again, looks are subjective. So a lot of player guys, that's not going to fly with them. So what I'm trying to say is her program is only going to work with guys that women really don't want. So at the end of the day, the women that's following her lead or doing what she's doing is not going to get what they truly want. Yeah, they're going to get their ego stroked because there's going to be some guys that they don't want. It's going to be on them. But at the end of the day, when it's time for that woman to really want the guy that she really wants, and he's a player or he's a guy of standard, then she can't run that game on him.
Right. Well, also, right. But the thing is, and this is what guys have to be careful of. And this is why, part of the reason why I like to, and I'm gonna have to do some more of this, like to interview women and stuff. And, with this aspect is because I want guys to also understand and peep how women are going to respond to certain things. If you notice in that video, when I think it was Ifosa asked her, I think when was the last time she had sex or whatever, and she didn't want to answer, right? And so you have to understand that socially, women are going to say things in public that versus what they would say behind closed doors, because socially, women still want to put up a certain type of image, right? And the reason why they want to put up a certain type of image is because socially, they still need guys to treat them a certain way. So if a woman is saying, for example, like if a woman socially generally is saying, hey, look, usually if I meet a guy that I'm really sexually attracted to, I'll fuck him on the first night, right? So if she says that socially, right, what's going to happen is just to cut off. If she says that socially, what happens is that guys will say, wait a second, I saw you on the podcast saying that if you like a guy, that you'll have sex with him. So then if you go out with that girl and she doesn't have sex with you, what does that mean? It means she don't like you like that. Right. You see what I'm saying?
Right. But guess what, Mr. Locario? She don't want the guys to know that.
Exactly.
She's going to say, oh, we got to get to know each other and, oh, we need to build rapport and stuff like that. But mind you, the guy that she thinks is a 10 or whatever, she's willing to, put her pride to the side to try to get with him. Right. And whatever it takes. You see what I'm saying? So that's what I'm trying to say. Like, if I was speaking to women, I would say that kind of watch that, because you low-key can bite yourself in the ass. You see what I'm saying? Because Mr. Locario, you know how many times I've talked to women and I can tell they're so used to simps. Right. So, like, you're going to automatically start treating every guy like a simp. Mm-hmm. And then you're going to miss out on the opportunities of a real guy that really could have put you in the program.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So that's what I'm trying to say.
This is the thing real quick. So what happens is this, right? If I say to you guys, hey, 2 + 2 = 4, right? Yes. And women are attracted to 4. So all you got to do is put 2 and then the 2 and then you get the 4. And then a woman might say, well, actually, 2 + 2 is 79. You see what I'm saying? So then the guys are going to be like, but Locario, she said 2 + 2 is 79. I don't understand. Like, what? And I'm like, bro, don't you know better? Don't you know that 2 + 2 is actually 4? And so what happens is that because they're influenced by women, they're going to say, but 2 + 2 got to be 79 because she said it. You see what I'm saying? But she's saying 79 to throw you off, because if 2 + 2 is 4, she can't tell you it's 79. Do you see what I'm saying? And that's what guys don't understand, is that they're so susceptible to hearing what women say. And that's because they don't understand game, and they don't realize that when it comes to game, if you are influencing a woman and a woman is supposed to follow your lead, right? It doesn't really matter what she's saying. Shout out to my dude, Jace, the pickup scientist. He said this. He said, and I thought this was profound. He said, it doesn't make sense to give women relationship advice, because when a woman finds a man that she is interested in, she's going to follow him anyway. So what advice does she need except for follow that man? Like,
right. And Mr. Carter, I'm glad you said that. And for the guy that's in the friend zone, that guy's going to eventually hear this speech. Oh my God, you're such a great guy, and any woman would die to have you, but for me, it's just not gonna. You see what I'm saying? Right. So you basically just can her until you hear that statement, because once again, the guy that she wants, that's what she's gonna follow. But thank you so much, Mr. Carter, for the opportunity. Have a great day.
Yes, sir. Appreciate the call, brother. Yeah, man. It's like
yeah, I would say that a woman can't really teach other women game, because it will never, based on what you were just saying, it'll never work towards men that they actually want.
Exactly.
Like the game can, like that women can learn, like the skills or tactics or mentalities, mindsets, that can only work towards the simps that they don't really want. That stuff will only work with them. Like all those rules and preferences and this, that, and the other, that only work with those guys. If she comes across the guy that she wants, she's just going to end up following him, and she won't have to do anything.
Right. Exactly. And that's the thing that a lot of guys don't understand is that I always said this, is that it's funny because a lot of advice for women is to help women attract weak dudes or to attract simps, because all that, get him to do this and do that and blah, blah, blah. That's going to work on a guy who's desperate and who has no game. Of course, it's going to work on him, but those are the guys women don't want anyway, which is hilarious. Yeah. So at the end of the day, she's going to drop all that for a man that she's attracted to. So meaning she's going to get with that guy that she's really, really, really interested in. And he's going to be like, hey, this is my plan. This is my program. And she's going to go that way with him. It's just that what it is. And
honestly, I think women's game should be more defensive.
Yeah.
I think that's the only game that women should have to protect themselves from nonsense guys who are going to come through, who are going to try to manipulate her, who are trying to nice guy the hell out of her, love bomb her, abuse her like that. I think a woman's game is really to protect the sanctity of her mind, her body, and her spirit.
Exactly.
And that's the only game she needs, because that just keeps away the riffraff, right? And then when men come along, she doesn't have to bother with any of that stuff anyways, because he's there.
Right, because he already has the program in place. And he's like, hey, I'm allowing you to come through and we're going to make this happen. And she's already with it. She's cooperating. She's like, this is the guy. I'm all about what he's about. And let's make this happen. You feel what I'm saying? And shout out to King Jackie. He said, women want/need the power to create the narrative from one guy to the next, depending on what they want from that guy. Can't be mad at women for that. Just learn some game. Exactly. And that's what we're talking about. So you guys have to understand, you have to be able to discern it. You know, the problem is that most guys, they take things at face value. So when a woman is speaking, they're taking her at face value, but you have to understand who the speaker is. You have to understand the perspective of the speaker. So remember, certain women will say certain things because they have to give you a certain image. So therefore they can attract certain guys for particular things. So if you understand that, then you're not going to be swayed by, oh man, well, she said that, you know, you got to make her comfortable and you got to work harder and you got to court her. Yes, that's true for those other guys, but we're teaching you guys how to have game. This is why Justin's website is called Dominance Academy. It's not called Do What the Woman Wants Academy. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you got to understand that if you are the guy who's acquiescing to her, then you're the guy she's settling for. It's that simple. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy, man. But we about to wrap this shit up a little bit. Let me see if we have any more questions. Let's get some more of these questions, and we're gonna wrap this shit up. It says, hold on, where was we at? It says, I disagree with that, where there comes to a point where you have to confront the disrespect. If not, people will just think it's okay to keep disrespecting you. Okay, I see that. I think that was from earlier. If a potential fuck buddy raises her voice at you for minor things, charge or give her a chance. No, that's done. That's a wrap. That is a wrap.
Listen. Rules are for they're earned. Like, why would you have any kind? Because yes, it takes some kind of effort to formulate, to observe, to maintain, and to enact. Like, don't do that for a fuck buddy. Like, yeah, you should have boundaries as a fuck buddy, and that's it. Rules, yeah, that's something that's developed over time and they're earned.
Exactly. Real talk. It says if she cancels a hookup that both of you confirmed, then she decides to cancel for some reason. Is it emotional telling her she cancels again? No more playtime. No, it's not an emotional thing to let a woman know what the deal is supposed to be. You can be acting emotional while telling her, but you don't have to be emotional letting her know what it is. You see what I'm saying? So
yeah. The statement's not emotional, but if you are emotional, well,
exactly.
That's you.
Right, exactly. So a lot of you guys, the thing is that there's a lot of butt hurt and emotion behind what you're saying. You feel what I'm saying? Because what you're saying could be correct, but if you're doing it in a way that, oh, you know, what's wrong with you? You should, you know, it's like, bro, like, relax. Just let her know, hey, look, this is the deal. This is the time we had. If this happens again, we're done. That's it. You feel what I'm saying? Keep moving. It says, with that in mind, that means attraction equals them being more comfortable. No, what are you talking about? Viona, I don't know where he was at with that one. It says, how can I keep her engaged in conversation without being a dancing monkey? Hilarious.
Oh, geez. That right there, this guy's a red pillar.
Oh, of course.
The whole dancing monkey thing that comes from the whole red pill circle thing, like Tomasi isms and things like that. Yeah. If you're worried about that, you're already in the wrong place.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So let me just put this in. So the way I view verbal game, if you know, I don't really like to call it that, but it's just another form of expression. Okay.
Right.
So when you like, I'm a huge fanatic when it comes to classic jazz. Okay. if John Coltrane goes on stage when he was alive and he plays, is he being a dancing monkey for the crowd?
Right. Exactly.
No. He's just there expressing himself.
Mm-hmm.
Does he care if they enjoy it? Does he care if they don't enjoy it? No. Is that going to affect how he plays? No. He's just going to keep doing what he's doing, how he likes to do it.
Right.
And so if you enjoy having that creative interplay of words with another person to elicit certain feelings, experiences, perceptions, and so on, then that's just what you do, right? If there is a intention behind it or motivation to, I hope I keep her engaged, that's going to change everything in the same way as if a stage performer is worried if the audience likes what they're doing or not. That's going to change everything that they do. Okay.
Right.
So it's not going to be genuine. It's not going to be a genuine expression. You're sitting there with like this side perception going on and being like, okay, is she engaged? Did she turn? This is the guys who are like, she turned 45 degrees. She fixed her hair behind her ear. She turned her toes towards me while we were talking.
Right.
Like, this is the same sort of dudes who do that sort of shit and like analyze, Stop looking for things from a woman and just express yourself. If they like how you express yourself when it comes from a genuine place, then they do. If they don't, who cares?
Right.
That's just not the person for you.
Real talk. And a lot of times this whole dancing monkey thing and all this other stuff is because guys are coming from the premise of trying to impress women or trying to do things to win the favor of women. You feel what I'm saying? And that's the issue with a lot of these guys out here when it comes to this, is because they keep making everything about women. So now they feel like, I have to, do all this stuff and tap dance and be this entertaining guy so that she'll like me. And it's like, that's the problem with it, where it's the mentality that you guys are coming at it with. You feel what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That's really what it's about. But yeah, man, this was fire. You feel what I'm saying? Shout out to you, Justin, coming through. So tell everybody where they can get you at and all that other good stuff.
Yeah, if anybody wants to learn more about rule creation, how to bring in rules into an already existing relationship, or how to bring it up when you're first starting with a woman who has graduated to the point of girlfriend, get in touch with me. There's a number of ways. You can email me at justin@thedominanceacademy.com, or you can go to my website, and that's full of information as well, which is thedominanceacademy.com, or just get in touch with me at Instagram, which is thedominance.academy, and we can have a chat. The first call is always free. And then we can set something up and go from there if you want to develop something in your program.
Real talk. And guys, make sure you guys go to badboymembership.com, masculineidentitymembership.com. Make sure you guys join the memberships, man. I appreciate everybody tuning in. You feel me? And yeah, man, we will holler at y'all later. And remember, the truth is inside you. Peace. We gone.